Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
I believe it was you along the way in talking about who said that Republicans talk in headlines, Democrats talk in fine print. Do you think that this is the sort of agenda that the Democrats need to reframe the discussion ahead of the 2018 midterms?
Well, what's absolutely critical is that we speak directly in a clear and compelling fashion to the American people who understand fundamentally that they deserve a better deal, better jobs, better wages, and a better future. Certainly in the past, it's been the case. Republicans do speak in headlines. We tend to talk in fine print. Fine print is important for the legislative process. That's why Democrats are the party that delivered to the country Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, Dodd-Frank. It takes fine print policy details in order to effectuate these important pieces of legislation. But in terms of speaking to the American people about the problems we want to confront, we have to do it in a more direct fashion. This is a substantial step in that direction.
Why is trust busting a major plank in this agenda? I mean, it seems a little odd. When I heard Senator Schumer on the weekend shows cite the example of ExxonMobil, you know, ExxonMobil is a deal that happened decades ago, and here we are today with gas prices and oil prices extremely low. At the same time, we take a look at just any sort of gauge of inflation, and it's extremely low. In fact, deflationary pressures on cell phone bills forever. It's a race to zero in terms of the promotions there. So how does that resonate with the American people if they're not feeling necessarily the pinch? The impetus for busting these trusts doesn't seem to be there.
Well, wage stagnation is a major problem that we have to address in a variety of different ways, including making sure that we don't have monopolies that artificially suppress wages in a manner that hurts the American people. Over the last 40 years, the productivity of the American worker has increased by more than 285%. During that same period of time, wages have increased by less than 10%. And so the productivity of the American worker, in terms of its increase, has not gone to the American worker.
Sir,
it's gone
what
to the
monopolies have suppressed wages? Which monopolies have suppressed wages?
Sir, excuse me, ma'am, what we're going to take a look at in terms of monopolistic power, you can either believe that it's good for the American consumer or believe that it's not.
Oh, I think it's terrible for the American consumer. Monopoly power is absolutely terrible for the American consumer. That's why trust busting exists. That's why antitrust exists. That's why the Sherman Antitrust Act. So which monopoly needs to be busted now?
Well, I'm not going to look backward. I'm going to look forward. And what has been proposed is that we redefine the manner in which these mergers are allowed to proceed. These mergers should not take place solely because they are in the best interest of the shareholder class. They should take place if they would promote the best interest of the working class, middle class Americans, as well as average, everyday folks. And so what we're saying is that we need a new lens, a new approach, a new set of analysis that is put to bear as it relates to these mergers moving forward. It's a forward-looking approach.
Don't the current laws or the regulations enforced by the Federal Trade Commission have that as part of their calling? And in other words, not just to look at whether it's good for the executives, but whether it creates too much market power in the hands of one company or another. Isn't that what those laws already do?
Many of us is that that's what they're there for, but we always should evaluate laws on the books to make sure that they are working the way that they should and to adapt to the changes that are made in a swiftly changing economy. Many of us, you know, perhaps would take the position, as Senator Schumer did, that to allow Exxon and Mobil to merge perhaps is not in the best interest of the consumer over the long term, regardless of the changes go up, go down as it relates to gas prices. But again, this is a forward-looking approach. There are laws that need to be updated for the 21st century economy, and we're looking forward to doing that.
In Senator Schumer's op-ed in the Times, it's sending costs skyrocketing for everything from cable bills and airline tickets to food and health care. I mean, the impetus behind this, according to Senator Schumer, who seems to be the spokesperson of this particular, slate of initiatives, is that costs are skyrocketing, and we're not seeing that borne out right now at all. Well, when it comes to food, when it comes to energy, when it comes to airline tickets.